The following is an Infinity One Productions presentation, keeping it honest, insightful, interactive. Covering weekly fallout from TNA Impact Wrestling Live as seen on Spike TV. You're listening to Impact Showdown Radio with your host, Lee Sanders and Diamond K.
Hey, the Black Gazrael, Lee Sanders, coming at you in an all-new episode of Impact Showdown Radio on March 21st, 2013. Just a couple of minutes removed from Impact Wrestling. It just went off the air. For those of you that might have not caught it, tonight's episode was pre-taped. It was actually done last week. As that respected episode of Impact Wrestling was live, they just filmed a bonus episode while they were still using the arena. But nonetheless, damn good episode if you know, like pre-taped shows. I must admit, this was a very, very well executed pre-taped show. I enjoyed this from the beginning to the end. Of course, one of the main highlights of the night, the Bully Ray storytelling. I want to dive into all that and all the matches that you might have missed, just in case you were not able to check out Impact Wrestling tonight. Hey, before we jump into it, we got the chat room loaded on blogtalkradio.com. Feel free to jump on in there when you get a free moment. If you don't want to do the chat room, you can also kick back and just listen to the show live in progress right now just by kicking back and calling 646-478-3525. Once again, that's 646-478-3525. Just listen to the prompts and choose the option, let you hear the episode, and enjoy. You can also take the time to interact with us on Twitter. Hit us up at Infinity1Prod. I'm going to be joined by co-host Diamond K in just a little bit, but for now, let's just go on ahead and let's just run down the events that came about from tonight's episode of Impact Wrestling. We were teased with it all week long as Bully Ray was going to reveal how his master plan at just punking over the Hogan family and winning his way to that TNA title, just laying out for us how it all came about, as it was 9 months in the making, 9 months of storytelling. And if you were not convinced that Bully Ray was truly the mastermind of it all, after tonight was said and done, you are just led to believe that there is no CEO, there is no chairman of Aces and Eights, there is no co-founder, none of that. This is all just one man and one man alone, and it is that of one Bully Ray. Do you know who his name is? Well, after tonight, you damn sure know who he is by now. Let's pick it up with the storytelling. As Bully Ray, he pointed out how everything started coming together right as the announcement was made that Sting was going to be going into the Hall of Fame and that he was going to be honored at the Bound for Glory pay-per-view from last year, if I'm not mistaken, was when it was. And Aces and Eights, remember, they had got to jump on him at that point. That's when they made their presence first felt, as we learned that everybody that has been getting the beatdown from Aces and Eights has all been courtesy of Bully Ray. He's the one that's been playing quarterback, telling them who to attack. So whenever you hear that term, dead man's hand, that's all Bully Ray giving the orders, apparently. Well, remember, as all this was going down with Sting getting beat down by Aces and Eights and random folks just getting their beat downs, Bully Ray is just kicking back and he's just enjoying everything that's going on. Of course, the buzz starts generating, well, who is responsible for these damn Aces and Eights running amuckus in the TNA arena? Well, Bully Ray, to make sure that there was no attention put on him, he would actually deflect it to James Storm. And what better way to kind of get that ball rolling of talk than to go to Bobby Roode, dropping those little subtle hints that, hey, word on the street is that it's James Storm that's behind the Aces and Eights. And sure enough, Bobby Roode, playing exactly the hand that Bully knew he was going to play, would tell everybody that could hear him, that would even take the time to listen to him, and say, hey, it's James Storm. And now all the focus is on James Storm. Bully Ray, Aces and Eights, of course, they had to make sure that there were strong hints suggesting that it was James Storm possibly behind Aces and Eights. And folks, as all this is going on, Bully Ray is just focused on the Bound for Glory series, racking up his respective points and just quietly moving up the ranks. This isn't stuff that is just made up. This is actual stuff when you go back and you look at those previous episodes of Impact Wrestling. It adds up. Hopefully it's fresh in a lot of you all's minds if you follow TNA Wrestling on a weekly basis like that. Everything is just connecting beautifully here. As then we go to that one pay-per-view event where it looked as though Bully Ray was going to be in a position at the No Surrender pay-per-view where he's trying to figure out who's he going to be facing as James Storm. Remember, he was the one that ended up racking up the most points in the Bound for Glory series. Well, the question was, well, who's he going to take on? Turns out he would challenge Bully Ray. Once again, Bully Ray, knowing exactly this was going to happen, once more, going out to Bobby Roode, winding him up, saying, hey, how come you are not in this main event? It should be you that should be getting your title shot opportunity. How come is James Storm going before you? There's something that's just not right with that. Come on now. Bobby Roode, we saw him take exception to that, as who could forget that infamous night there, James Storm taking on Bully Ray. Bobby Roode, he just comes out of nowhere, beer bottle in hand, cracks James Storm over the head with it, costs him the win. Bully Ray picks up the win, and then from there, we eventually see him take on Jeff Hardy. Here was the first hiccup, though, folks. Bully Ray overestimated one Jeff Hardy, as he is a lot tougher than he looks. As remember, it was Jeff Hardy that had won, and he would go on to become the next TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Well, hey, Bully Ray, he knew exactly what he had to do at this point. He had to come up with a different plan. And what that plan was to win over the Stinger while at the same time putting in those seeds to get himself over as, Bully Ray, he's a good guy. He don't mean no harm. He's really not that bad of a person. And we just saw these little things just playing out over the next several months that just really kind of had you kicking back and saying, well, maybe Bully Ray isn't that bad of a person. Remember a couple of weeks back, folks, when Jeff Hardy got attacked by a Max member of Aces and Eights? And as a result of that, he was sidelined from the UK tour. Well, we knew exactly what was the real deal that was going on, why he couldn't participate in the UK tour. But it actually turned out that was Bully Ray that had attacked him. Go figure, softening him up, getting him all nice and ready for that TNA title exchange. Well, we see just a beautiful masterpiece of a story plot thicken as Bully Ray just continues to win over Sting, realizing that Sting is what was key to getting the Hulkster to turn over. Talk about the members of Aces and Eights. Doc, Mike Knox. What led them to joining Aces and Eights? Well, the fact that they felt like underdogs, that they were being made to feel underutilized. That's what ended up having them go over to Aces and Eights. Then you look at Garrett Bischoff. Garrett Bischoff, same young man that had helped Hulk Hogan time and time again and trying to get rid of his own father, Eric Bischoff, from the company. And then afterwards, when it's now time for Garrett to try to step up to the plate and try to get what's coming to him, he just wants to do nothing more but make an impact in the company. Hulkster doesn't give him a chance as he feels that he is young, inexperienced. So we see Garrett get that cold shoulder. Yeah, of course Garrett Bischoff is going to eventually go off into Aces and Eights. You go to Wes Briscoe. This we already knew about. Wes Briscoe, he kept getting the cold shoulder from Hulk Hogan. Remember, we're informed week after week there. We're reminded that it's Wes Briscoe's dad and uncle that had helped train Hulk Hogan. Hogan wouldn't be where he is today if it wasn't for the Briscoes being involved in his career. And how quickly he turns a blind eye to the third-generation wrestler. No-brainer right there why Briscoe would defect over to Aces and Eights. And how about Mr. Anderson? What's his explanation? After all, he did get a beat down by those damn Aces and Eights months back. What's the explanation for him joining them? Well, it turns out when Aces and Eights did that number on Anderson several months back, Hulk Hogan never checked in on him, never called him, never sent him an email, didn't do a damn thing, okay? And as a result of that, hey, that is why Mr. Anderson defected over to Aces and Eights. A lot of this, if you're starting to connect the dots, a lot of this is actually Hulk Hogan's own doing. And he has nobody to blame but himself for this big old mess known as the Aces and Eights. Talk about a way to build your army. This is how it had came about. And Bully Ray, of course, just to speed it up for you guys, we all saw what had went down there with Taz. Turns out Taz had been part of Aces and Eights almost since day one. Devon Dudley, he's been there practically since day one. Turns out the guy that had welcomed Sting and Hulk Hogan into the clubhouse months back and was behind the mask talking to them, telling them to get two opponents together to take on two members of Aces and Eights, that was Devon right then and there, putting the proposition out there. Devon has been with the group since that far back. And what about that pay-per-view where we did see, and it was Bound for Glory, just to refresh you all's memory, where we saw Aces and Eights take on Sting and Bully Ray? Remember how it was revealed that it was Devon that was in Aces and Eights? And remember how Bully Ray just conveniently chased after Devon into the backstage segment? Meanwhile, Sting got his ass handed to him by Aces and Eights. All a con, folks. This was all just part of the setup. What about that wedding that some of you might be thinking about? Well, we did see Bully Ray take a few bumps. Looked as if he had got hit by a structure that was in the ring. That was part of the whole wedding ceremony. Bully Ray pointed it out very well. Looks can be very deceiving. Don't always believe what you see. Also extending it further, saying there's been times where he's taken beatdowns all in the good name of making it look good just so he can get over on the Hulkster and get him where it counts the most, which is sucking up to his ego. And what better way to get over on the Hulkster than by playing up to his ego? And that, 9 months, just gets us to where we are right now. They tried to brush up that whole Joseph Park knowing their identity there. I'm not quite sure they did a superb job with that, but just the 9 months of storytelling that they're giving us right now, I think with regards to Bully Ray and just how he pulled this off, trying to really have him live up to being a true mastermind, that there's possibly nobody else involved that helped him orchestrate all of this. I must say, they did a superb job in the storytelling. It's definitely believable when you just add up all those little things. And if I dare were to compare it, it kind of reminds me of the Saw series. And for those of you that are not quite familiar with the Saw series, it's basically a horror movie series. And they get these random people that are just put into this weird, fucked up circumstance, and they're all trying to figure out how to get out of this place. And pretty much in most of the Saw movies, there can only be one survivor. and everybody is just doing all these backstabbing weird games, all this sick crap. But in some weird sick sense, all the people that are brought together, they're linked somehow. It's crazy, but when it all starts coming together, it just makes a lot of sense, and your mouth just drops. And that was kind of the shock and awe that was kind of felt throughout the course of this episode as we were given the highlights of Bully Ray and his whole massive plan of dominance. And I must say, from that production value standpoint, as far as recapping a story, the execution of it, great job TNA did tonight, as really that's what it was all about, was the storytelling. Now, as far as what matches we had got on tonight's episode of Impact Wrestling, we saw the one and only the X Division champion, Kenny King, defend his title against Christian York and Zema Ion in a triple threat match. And I love the promo that they had gave for this match. They basically had dubbed it the new era of the X Division. And these boys tonight, they lived up to that daggone hype. Correction, folks, it actually was not Zema Ion, my mistake. It was actually the people that were in that triple threat match. It was actually Kenny King taking on Zema Ion and Sonjay Dutt. That was your triple threat match. And, Diamond, I definitely want to get your thoughts on that triple threat match for the X Division title. And I just had talked briefly about what all had went down with Bully Ray there. I also like for you to talk about how you enjoyed the storytelling era of 9 months for Bully Ray, having it be revealed he's the mastermind of Aces and Eights there.
It was interesting. They normally do not do that in wrestling, go back that far and connect storyline holes and things of that nature. So it was interesting from that standpoint to see it. He brought up a lot of things that I had definitely forgotten about, but it kind of made sense. But I guess that the thing of a heel is that the heel believes what he's doing is right. And so in that sense, it seemed as though all this came about because Aces and Eights members felt that they were wronged. And so that's the impression that that they wanted you to have, and I think that's the impression that you end up with in the end. Storytelling wise, I thought it was okay. I still think that at the end of all of this is leading to a what they're pointing to and what's going to actually happen, I guess, are two different things. But it seems like the only way this could actually end without us being disappointed would be a Bully Ray Hogan match. But I just don't think that Hogan has that in him.
I don't know. I'm starting to have a little bit of faith in the Hulkster, and I'll actually share with you guys the reason why I'm thinking that. And Diamond's been saying it for weeks, and I'm really starting to believe that truly is the direction that they could be going in. Because right now, Sting just would not be the big payoff. I'm sorry. Yeah, the end result would have to be Hulk Hogan and Bully Ray. But, you touched a very valid point right there, one of several there, which is this is something that we don't see typically from a wrestling promotion, that they go that far back in storytelling. It was like any little gap that you could possibly think of. And I'm still thinking about the Joseph Park gap where he swore he knew the identities of everybody. I'm still a little bit concerned about that gap. They kind of acknowledged it, but then they didn't. But any other gap you could think of leading up to this point, I thought they did a good job of explaining it, and just from that storytelling standpoint, Diamond, it was like, okay, these guys, they nailed it. They hit a home run. They have done a phenomenal job in getting Bully Ray over. And when you understand the origin of Aces and Eights, like I said earlier, you can't help but say, okay, so basically this is a result of Hulk Hogan's poor decision-making, because at several points he has had some type of interaction with these men, and he's turned them all down. He's given them some type of a cold shoulder, and they've taken it so personal that they didn't know what to do. And here's Bully Ray and crew. They come along. They give them new hope. They give them new inspiration, and thus you got Aces and Eights. And that's really what speaks to me in large volumes right now is Hulk Hogan, you're turning your back on people. This is what happens. And here we go again. We see him kind of doing the same thing there to Sting, as once again we see him give the Stinger a cold shoulder. And before anybody asks, well, if that's the case, well, is Sting going to go to Aces? No, that would be interesting, but I don't see that happening.
I don't know how interesting that would be.
Yeah.
Sting is a horrible heel to me.
Yeah. Well, to his credit, just in his defense, he's kind of like Shawn Michaels, maybe a little bit more extremer with his faith and all that. He's not quite the Sting we remember, from the past. But then again, he's always been kind of he's always been better as a good guy. He hasn't really.
Yeah, he's never been a good.
No. Basically, it's like, Sting's a bad guy. Sting's a bad guy. What makes Sting a bad guy? Well, he changed his face paint. That's what makes him a bad guy. He's not saying as much. He doesn't really get it over that well. But I don't know, man. Great storytelling. But Aces and Eights, Bully Ray, definitely my hat's off to the TNA wrestling crew. It really kind of comes off as if the writers, they've known the story that they've been trying to tell for a long time now. Of course, we reported it several months back that TNA's main goal going forward was to create longer storylines that fans could really kind of feel invested in. But again, as great of a storytelling as they told tonight, Diamond, a little bit too long. It still should have been squashed at least 2-3 months ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think this should have. Yeah, this should have been climaxing in January sometime.
Yeah. But, the timing is good. I will give it credit because they're on the road. They're hitting home runs now. And honestly, with the way that they have their pay-per-view layouts going now, they have much more time in the world to tell these stories, get it all fine-tuned. I don't think we're going to see a storyline as in-depth that plays out as long as the Aces and Eights has. I don't think we're going to see anything like it, at least for TNA. I think it's going to be a very long time before we see something like that happen again. I think at this point, your next best thing would be to maybe have Hulk Hogan, Bully Ray collide after a year has been tallied up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You might as well put the book into it there, and I think they're going to do a good job from here going into Bound for Glory. If they do this right, I think they could have a fun time with this storyline as it eventually will branch off into Hulk Hogan just taking matters into his own hands and wanting to step into the ring with Bully Ray and possibly become the oldest TNA champion. How'd you like that X Division match?
It was. I've never been a fan of the stomp that Sanjay Dutt does. I just don't understand why you would do that move. I would not. That's a finish I would not want to take. But so that aside, clearly it's time for them to push King. My issue is I wish they hadn't buried him as much before they were able to work, or I guess not work things out with Rob Van Dam. And I guess the burying of Kenny King happened because they were trying to, sign Van Dam. And I'm calling it burying, but I guess it wasn't. But it was good. It was good. I think that we have a strictly X Division pay-per-view in the near future.
Mhm. Yeah. That triple threat match was pretty damn good. It was one of my favorite highlights of the whole night, really, because we only got about, I think, 4 matches total there. But that was definitely, I enjoyed that match better than the main event match. And the main event match, in case you guys are curious, it was actually Jeff Hardy taking on Samoa Joe, Magnus, missing one other guy. Was it James Storm?
Jeff Hardy, Kurt Angle, Magnus,
Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe, yeah.
Samoa Joe, yeah. Those 4 guys. Number 1 contender spot was on the line. Originally, it was Jeff Hardy's. Hulk Hogan had asked him if he felt he was 100%, if he was ready to take on Bully Ray, and Jeff said, in fact, he was ready, but that he wanted to prove it to himself, and he also wanted to give the other guys an opportunity, as maybe it's just not his time, maybe it could possibly be somebody else's time. So he went on ahead and put his number 1 contender spot on the line in that fatal 4-way, of which Jeff Hardy was able to win. So it looks like Jeff Hardy has a future date with Bully Ray. Unfortunately, I think we both agreed on this. Jeff Hardy, he's good chasing the title. It's kind of like after he gets it, it's like, all right, Jeff. Okay, don't get me wrong. Decent title defenses, past couple of months, but nothing really, too, the list is so short. Yeah, nothing too exciting, and the list is so short of people that he could take on. When you take a guy like Bully Ray, it's endless. You could go the route of Samoa Joe. You could go Jeff Hardy. You could go Austin Aries. You could go Bobby Roode. You could go Christopher Daniels. You could go Kazarian. You could go AJ Styles. It's just unlimited combinations right there with Bully Ray as the champion. You would now be able to see matchups that you normally wouldn't see. So I think it's definitely a good move of Bully Ray being the champion. But Jeff Hardy, I'm definitely expecting these two to have a pretty good rematch. But, Bully Ray is white hot right now, and without a doubt, he's going to be able to retain that title. We saw it finally happen, Diamond. We saw Taryn Terrell get the axe as the referee, as Brooke Hogan fired her, but reinstated her as a knockout, as now it looks like her and Gail Kim are going to be getting it on after Taryn Terrell did that edge spear to Miss Gail Kim. Your thoughts on how that segment played out tonight?
Bad acting, but the former referee is pretty hot. Yeah. I don't know what's more hotter,
Taryn Terrell or Stephanie McMahon knowing kickboxing. God damn. I saw some top video of her today throwing it down with a guy. She's just throwing them punches left and right. I was like, go ahead, Rounder Rosie, go ahead. Yeah, Taryn Terrell, that is yum, yum, yum. I actually had to mute it because I didn't like what I was hearing. It was like, Okay, so anyway, no disrespect to Gail Kim, but it was like, okay, anyway. But it was nice seeing Bully Ray kind of pop up there at the end, and he was kind of looking at Brooke like, you forget about me, baby? Remember this ring? Huh? Till death do us part? What's up? And Brooke just wanting to have nothing to do with this guy and just hauling ass. And where do you think this is going to play out? Do you still believe that there's hope there that Brooke could kind of go over to the dark side, or are you a little bit looking at it differently now?
No, Brooke is with Bully Ray and Aces and Eights.
Talk about that. That would be a damn good twist.
Here's what did it for me. Aside from the fact that I said it 10 months ago, but aside from that, the other thing that was the nail in the coffin for me was when he said, we revealed all the members except for one, and he was the last one. To me, that says, don't think about it anymore. All of the Aces and Eights members have been revealed. So when it is revealed that it's her, then it's really going to be a surprise, except for me, because I've said it all along.
Okay. I see where you're going with that. Okay, I see that. What was the other match we had got on tonight's Impact? I know we just named 3 of them.
Tag team.
What that consist of? I forgot already.
Tag team match with the let's see, Daniels and Kazarian.
Okay. Yeah, they ran interference in a match between Bobby Roode, Austin Aries, as they took on Chavo and Hernandez. Yeah. Are we a little bit tired of seeing these guys mix it up, or Daniels and Kazarian? I'm trying to wing it for Daniels and Kazarian because I love them, but man, it's like, can we separate these tag teams?
Yeah, I mean, because we have each week we have I want to call them Mexico. We have Hernandez and Chavo against it's they're either against the tag team champions or against these challengers.
Mm-hmm.
Every week is one of those 3 combinations of teams, and I mean, I'd rather see them put together 2 singles guys and have them go up against them. But I mean, the roster is very thin, so they're only taking a certain amount of people. But they just have to just come up with some other combinations, just to give a shot of adrenaline into the X division. I'm sorry, the tag team division.
Yeah, I mean, combinations, off the break, the roster might be a little bit thin right now, but, there's combinations I can just think of off the break. Pair up Zema Ion with Joey Ryan. Let's see how those 2 guys would do as a tag team. Take Christian York and pair him up with Big Rob Terry. Let's see what they can do. Why don't you pair up Jay Bradley? Pair him up with Magnus. I think that would be a very nice oddball combination. One other tag team route you can go. I think Sanjay Dutt was just maybe like a one-time deal. Haven't really seen enough to kind of suggest he's back on a permanent basis just yet. But take that young kid that had won the TNA British Boot Camp, Rockstar Spud, and maybe you could team him up with the first TNA Gut Check winner, Alex Silva. There's your tag team right there. See how those 2 guys could gel, and maybe they could learn from one another. Who knows? But, they got the combinations there. They just got to do the doggone thing, But I agree, the tag division, it needs a lot of help because, no disrespect to Daniels and Kazarian, love those guys. They're phenomenal, especially Kazarian. He's come a long way, big time. I think that's been the smartest move for him for his entire career in TNA, was pairing him up with Daniels on a regular basis, because it's kind of made him get out of that stale mode that he was in for so long. He's actually got some personality now. But, it's kind of an insult to them, They can only do but so much, It's like, oh, that's an ugly wound. Well, let's just put a little, well, it's still a wound. You can put a Band-Aid, you can put a piece of cloth over it all you want. It's still going to be there unless you're properly treated. And, I'm sorry, no disrespect to Chavo and Hernandez, but my God, man, we've seen them as respective tag champions from whichever promotion for many times over the years. Many fans are ready to see these guys. Well, I won't say Chavo. Many fans are ready to see big super mechs move on to bigger things, quite honestly.
I don't think his talent level there.
What's that?
I don't think that his talent level is going to justify that.
Well, he might not be a TNA World Heavyweight Champion, but, my God, man, with a look like he has, you could at least try to push him as a monster heel, There's another combo for you right there, Diamond. Hernandez as a heel with a heel blueprint Matt Morgan. I think that would be damn
I feel
interesting.
like I've seen that before.
I kind of want to say so, too. It seems like it's been a long, long time, though. I don't know, but yeah, that tag division, they need to do some stuff with that. We were talking about it earlier, and I definitely want to show some love to these guys. They do some good stuff with their show. Of course, I'm talking about Busted Open, and Hulk Hogan had recently did an interview with them, and just to touch up on that whole how his health is feeling and all that. This is a direct quote from Hulk Hogan right here. Thursday was a month. He's talking about his knee now. Thursday was a month, so a month and 2 months and half days for the old knee replacement. So I think I'm doing good. I saw some other wrestlers that had some knee replacements done and around the same time. I feel like Tarzan here all of a sudden. They said they weren't even going to be able to work around for 8 or 9 weeks, so I'm a little bit ahead of the schedule. The weird thing is, now I got 2 new knees, 2 new hips. After 8 back surgeries, my back's fixed. I think I should be getting a title shot pretty soon. The oldest heavyweight champion of the world.
Is that a tweet?
No, this was what he said recently in an interview. I think it was earlier this week or over the weekend. This is what he said in the interview. That kind of speaks large volumes to me, Diamond. I truly believe Hogan wants another shot at the belt now.
Well, one thing you have to admit is that it will, assuming that they go through with it, they can pump it up and get a good buy rate out of it.
Mm-hmm.
If they deliver it. Not like how they did, when he was supposed to be in that tag match and they, laid him out.
Mm-hmm. It's got the potential to do wonders. I would be more convinced if I saw him give Diamond Dallas Page a phone call and did some DDP yoga. That would really be the only way I'd be a little bit more convinced, DDP works wonders, dude. I need to see something come from that. He also, in the same interview, he had talked about Bobby Roode's contract and the fans not really understanding what was the real deal of it all. And here's what happened. Remember, folks, we had told you guys, I believe it was on the, what was that? The Lockdown post show. We were talking about what had went down with Bobby Roode's contract and all, and how it looked like they didn't even know that his contract expired, but they went on ahead and they worked out a new deal. But here's what Hogan had to say about that. Direct quote: when you're working for a company, sometimes you don't focus on what your contract says. I was here last year. I was working at a pay-per-view, and my contract had ran out. I didn't know it. Dixie didn't know it. We weren't worried about it. We're here because we love the business, and all of a sudden, I got a call from my attorney and say, Henry, is my contract up? He goes, yes. Yeah, it ran out 10 days ago. I didn't even know it. Dixie didn't know. We weren't worried about that. We were worried about putting on a good show. It's so weird that, oh, my God, Bobby Roode's contract is over. I looked at Twitter. Hogan, you're an idiot. Afterthought. Dumbass. all these things that are being said to me, I've got nothing to do with that. Here's the deal. Bobby Roode's great talent. I'm sure he wants to be here or he wants to be anywhere, and he can make his own deal. But we sure don't want him going anywhere. We love him to death. I was hoping that he'd have the belt on the UK tour just so we'd have a TNA champion over there. It's all weird how everybody tries to tear our business apart. We're here for the same reason. We love this business, and if he doesn't have a contract, I bet Bobby Roode would wrestle tonight without a contract until we get him straightened out. That's how much he loves it. My, how we are talking very, very polite words of Bobby Roode when it was just months ago he didn't want Bobby Roode as a champion.
Right. That's true.
Which way is it? Which guy? I don't know. Maybe they've had like a face-to-face meeting and grabbed some hoagies and then some sodas, and maybe they squashed it or something. I don't know, but it's interesting. You fast forward a couple of months later, and it seems like everything's all peaches and cream, and hey, it's all good. Bully Ray, he apologized once again. We were talking about this on Tuesday night, but once again, Bully Ray had apologized for a second time for the homophobic slur that he had used at the Impact Wrestling event that happened last week after it had went off the air. And he actually said this on Twitter. He said, had a very positive talk with the man I got into a verbal altercation with in Chicago. I personally apologize for my careless choice of words and my ignorance with regard to certain slurs I used. I take full responsibility, and once again, I apologize to all. Honestly, Diamond, I don't think Bully Ray owed anybody an apology. I mean, the name speaks for itself, Bully Ray. It's, heaven forbid he gets in your face at a house show. You have to remember that it's the character, that's coming at you. It's not the real person. At the end of the day, these men and women that are performing for wrestling fans, at the end of the day, they're real people. You take away the ring, you take away the boots and all that, they go by their real name and whatever is linked to their social security card and all of that stuff. He doesn't owe anybody an apology. I mean, I think it's classy that he did that, but he really doesn't owe anybody an apology.
Well, a lot of people feel that he does. I've seen some even call for termination. People always get real touchy about people get touchy about that kind of stuff. I mean, it's a fine line. I think that a lot of times these fans provoke things just to, seriously get a filming of it, or it's unfortunate in this day and age, but they can sometimes go the line. Had it been a racial thing, would you have felt that you needed an apology there? No. I can say that honestly. No. If it would have went the racial route, the first thing I would have been able to put two and two together, because those same people that would sit up and say, "Oh my God, Bully Ray is freaking racist, that freaking hillbilly, racist, honky, mother loving," they would forget that fast that he's been with Devon, who he actually loves like a brother, has, formed businesses with the man many times over the years. Their families know one another. Hell, their families are considered families for one another. That's decades between those two guys. I definitely wouldn't have sat up and been like, oh, he needs to be fired, And I think anybody that would have went that route, had it went a racial tone route, they just would have been sadly mistaken. No, I think it would have still been the same. I still would feel that he shouldn't give an apology.
You know. Now, if he gets in a woman's face and, he starts saying whore, bitch, slut, and every other, maybe I can kind of, look at that and kind of say, okay, what's going on with that? Especially if he's directing it to a woman, God, that looks like vintage Roseanne Connor, from the first 2-3 seasons. It's like, why are you singling out that poor middle-aged mom,
Yeah,
She's trying to take her kid to a damn wrestling event. What's wrong with you, man? I thought this was interesting. TNA Knockout Roxy, she had recently did an interview, and one of the questions that was asked, of course, and we had noticed this early on, all the knockouts that had declined the invitation to appear at that one-night-only knockouts event. She had this to say. She said, you can only get kicked but so many times. I think I had finally had enough. They had trouble treating me very well to begin with, and I felt like I was being a glutton for punishment every time I went back. I felt like it was the right time to tell them no. It was like one of those bad relationships where you keep trying to get away from it. You can't treat people badly and then hope they'll come back and hang out. A lot of the girls I've spoken to turn them down. I don't know about you, Diamond, but when I think about the career of Roxy there in TNA, and she's been one of my longtime favorites, I do remember they did her kind of wrong there, especially when they made her shave her daggone head and all that other crazy stuff. That's one girl that honestly should be in the Knockouts division this very day and should have already been a multi-time Knockouts champion because she makes a lot of the girls. You could take what's currently there, what they had a couple of months ago. Aside Gail Kim, who's another one that wrestles pretty good? Tara, Mickey James. Aside from those girls, all the other knockouts, they suck. Not in that. Well, they suck good, I'm sure, but I mean, not not that kind of suck, but
No way you're going with that.
I had to think about that. It's like they suck. It's like, why are we complaining?
Okay.
Oh God. I mean, would you agree with that? Would you agree that TNA they should have tried to keep her around there?
I definitely feel that. I mean, you gotta look at the guys who are in charge. I don't see them having too much respect for the ladies, even though there's a lady in charge, quote unquote. So I mean, I definitely feel like the girls aren't treated properly, and some of these girls don't want to go back into that situation.
I just can't believe they had the audacity to ask her to come on back. I mean, that's like, God, heaven forbid you have an interview with a TNA wrestler and it's horrific, and they decide that they don't want to come back, or some crap like that. And that's never happened to us over here, folks. I can proudly say that. I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking. It's like you do a bad interview and, you tell them a couple of months later, hey, can you come on back? And all you hear is crickets, and you're like, gee, I wonder what happened. It's like, well, did you play back the episode? Did you play it back? Because, you kind of struggled there, buddy. So I saw a look at the results for that pay-per-view, too, and I'm not giving any spoilers away to you guys. Y'all can check it out whenever you want to. We are not one of those shows that's going to spoil stuff for you guys. Although we did have the results for tonight's episode up early and still provided results and progress in its entirety, just our way of kind of looking out for those that, from time to time, they may not have time to sit down and watch the whole show. They may just want to know the meat and potatoes of it. But from what I was able to see, it looks like it was a pretty good pay-per-view. There was a couple of surprises from knockouts that came on back. And here's one very interesting note that Roxy had to say, by the way, while we're still staying on that topic. She talked about the impact of Shimmer Wrestling on women's wrestling, and she said it gave us a way to display the girls that just don't do cat fights. We're not just managers. We actually get in there and we can actually go. It was nice to have that and to have people see it. The crowd that's there is just amazing. So check out that interview when you get a chance. It's actually pretty good. Something I thought was interesting, Diamond. It looks like Kurt Angle's finally been, and I was actually looking at this the other day. He was added to the alumni section on the WWE.com website. Anything to kind of read in between that there as he just quietly, mysteriously appeared on their website? You think maybe WWE is trying to get the gears in motion of when Kurt Angle is finally done in TNA Wrestling? Not necessarily a WWE comeback is what I'm not thinking, but maybe Hall of Fame, yeah.
Yeah. I definitely think, Kurt has done all that he can do, really. So, I don't really see anything else left for him to do.
Yeah, except going to the daggone WWE Hall of Fame. Now, I think he has 2 years left in his contract, maybe 3. So I know he's supposed to be done like right around the age of 47, and I think he's 44 right now, maybe 45. So that would be some very interesting timing. We keep hearing WWE wants to try to get Sting into the Hall of Fame, and this is such a controversial move because Sting, a lot of people will say he wasn't in the WWE. So how can you put Sting into the Hall of Fame? But Vince McMahon is still a little hell-bent on making this happen. Could you see something like this happening once Sting finally does hang it up?
Absolutely. There are a couple of guys that they have on the roster that were not necessarily in the WWE, but WWE owns the rights to the footage, and they put together a really nice Sting DVD. I say you bring him in for one little run, one small run before the Hall of Fame, and put him in that same year.
Here's my whole thing. I would like to see something happen where just for one night only, if you're going to put him in the Hall of Fame, I want to see, and I know I'm dreaming big here. We came so close to seeing it, though, until this stupid little lawsuit happened. But I want to see WWE and TNA get together, literally, to try to give this guy the proper justice that he deserves in going into the Hall of Fame. I would like to see something happen along the lines of, as far as his matches and all that go, if they could incorporate some stuff in TNA. They don't have to show a whole collage of stuff, but just show, key moments from his TNA career as they welcome him into the WWE Hall of Fame. And,
I don't know about that.
I don't know, I just think, it's reaching. I know, it's reaching, but I just always think it's kind of weird seeing some of these wrestlers that get inducted in one Hall of Fame. They go over to this other company, who really, they own the early footage of his WCW days and, I think AWA days and, all that other stuff. And it's like,
Who?
For Sting.
Sting? Well, they own the UWF stuff, when Sting was there, before coming to, NWA, WCW. They own his whole meaningful career. To me, nothing that he's done in TNA has been meaningful, impactful to his career. If he never went into TNA, he still would be a Hall of Famer.
Really? You think so?
Sting, absolutely. Sting was a Hall of Fame. I mean, Sting was on the final Nitro with Ric Flair. Sting is not a Hall of Famer because he was in TNA. He's a Hall of Famer for what he did the 20 years prior to the whole career. He had a 20-year career before he even went to TNA.
Yeah. I guess they can wing it. I don't know. I'm just one of those type of guys. I always think, and I think those of you listening, I think you kind of see where I'm going. It would just be nice to kind of see two companies just come together to, induct somebody of that magnitude. It's kind of like you have your favorite. God, and I actually wrote a review on this. I reviewed the CM Punk Best in the World DVD. And I remember saying, it's not really the best in the world because you're not getting his Ring of Honor stuff. You're not getting his stuff, prior to Ring of Honor. You're not even getting a taste of the stuff that he did in TNA. You're missing out on a lot. And with the few matches that they did show on the DVD, it barely scratched the surface. And, I remember my whole perspective then, it was kind of like it'd be nice to see some of these wrestling promotions come together and do a daggone collaboration and putting one over. Could you just imagine how kick-ass that would have been to get a CM Punk DVD that would have had his WWE, Ring of Honor, TNA all wrapped up in a nice little bow? It's like dream on, but still, it'd be nice to see something like that happen. And I think just with Sting, it'd be nice to see that, maybe I could get that in a form of Dixie Carter and a couple of other people being in the Hall of Fame. I can live with that.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, if that doesn't happen, then, oh well. But, it should be very interesting to see what happens. You think Sting will go in before Kurt Angle, or you got Kurt Angle going in before?
Kurt Angle, I think, before Sting.
Yeah. Same here. Overall, what you thought about Impact tonight?
Overall, I mean, they tried their best to fill up some story holes and some little plot issues. But all in all, I was underwhelmed with the main event. And I didn't like how they got to it initially. To me, it's just weird with Taz being on the broadcast team and being so pro aces and eights. It's just kind of weird that nobody ever, steps to him, so to speak. And his announcing gets very annoying at times. But getting through that. I also thought the crowd was a little weird. The chances that were going on during the main event, I think, were throwing the guys off a little bit.
Yeah, what the hell was some of that stuff they were chanting?
Yeah, they were, during the points where Angle and Samoa Joe were outside of the ring, they were chanting, for Angle and Joe, who were supposed to be injured outside the ring while the match was going on, and then Joe finally got in. But it was definitely a heavily supportive of Joe and Angle crowd, which kind of threw off Jeff Hardy, I think. But that aside, I thought that the show was okay. I thought that they could have done better in a couple of things, but for the most part, the long term of the story we're getting to is going to be Hogan and Bully Ray at some point, in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I just felt kind of bad for those guys in Chicago because they had to sit through two tapings. You had the first live Impact. And then after it went off the air, we're thinking it's over. The action continued, so they have to sit through another episode. I just felt kind of bad for them. I feel bad for them because it's like, man, that's like 4+ hours you guys are watching there. And heaven forbid something weird had happened, and they said, okay, take two, let's do this again. And I thought this was very interesting. I need to point this out to you guys. I'm glad we're still on, but we are wrapping it up now. I thought this was very interesting. 2 VIP attendees who paid money for guaranteed front row seats and the meet and greet with wrestlers. They had recently described what all had went down at Lockdown and the previous event. They explained that the attendance was so low that TNA had to fill every other row with people. Now, meantime, another source had indicated that some of the VIP members did not get their guaranteed front row seats and were instead seated in the third row. Now, I just want you guys to know, if you're going to be ordering your tickets to go see some of these live events, if you experience something like this, definitely let us know. Shoot us an email. Hit Diamond up on Twitter, Diamond K Show, the Diamond K Show. You can hit us up at the RCWR Show. Let us know if you see something like this happen, because honestly, this is a move that I think is just a little bit unprecedented. I've never heard of something like this happen. You pay for your seats. Those are your seats. I mean, I would like to see Vince McMahon and crew try to get away with that, on the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania. Seats are a little vacant. We need you to. He was like, but I paid for these front. Well, we know, and it's funny because as soon as I had heard this, Diamond, I was thinking about this one fan from last Thursday on Impact Live, and he stood out in my mind because of the type of jersey he was wearing. He was wearing a Chicago Bulls jersey. He was a white guy. And I remember when I initially saw him, he had a pretty damn good front row seat. I mean, wherever the cameras were, he was right there. And I remember he kept flexing his guns and all that. Then when we see Impact from tonight, he's no longer in that area. And keep in mind, they taped another episode immediately after it went off the air last week. So where's this kid now? Now this kid is over towards where the wrestlers are coming in by the ramp. He's over there now. So it's like, okay, did they make him cough up his seat? What the hell happened? So that's definitely all points bulletin for you guys that plan on seeing TNA Wrestling. If they do end up making you guys leave your seats, try to put you somewhere else, definitely let us know about it so we can try to spread the awareness, because honestly, I don't know about you, Diamond, but the only way I'm coughing up my little front row seats is if I'm getting a VIP backstage pass and I'm going to get to meet, whatever wrestler I want to meet after the show is over.
That's the only way?
That's the only way. Well, okay, that or maybe Tara and Velvet Sky come kiss me on the cheek, after they move me, like they do their little entrance and, they can come kiss me on the cheek. That or rub my bald head. That'll make me feel good. I hope my girlfriend didn't hear that. But I'll settle for that, though. Other than that, programming note for you Dish Network users. I got some very important news you guys need to know about. It looks like TNA Impact Wrestling is going to be on the move on Dish. So it looks like you guys got until April 3rd, as currently Spike TV can be seen on both Dish Network channels 168 and 241. However, due to DVR functionality on channel 168, it is disabled. So you're encouraged for all your Impact Wrestling programming, set your DVRs to channel 241, as Spike TV will be on channel 241 full-time starting April 3rd. Don't worry, we'll give you guys a courtesy reminder as it draws more closer. Diamond, what you got planned for this weekend, buddy?
Well, it's a busy weekend. We got the Ustream Radio Live show, and then after that I have a couple of interviews to tape. My sister's birthday is Saturday, and my parents' anniversary is the couple of days after, so we're throwing a, hopefully they're not listening, but we're throwing one thinks we're throwing something for the other, and then the other thinks we're throwing something, so we're going to do a big surprise for both of us, both everybody involved.
Oh, that's how you do it. Knock out two birds. I like that. Yeah. Oh, that sounds like it's going to be a fun weekend. I'm going to kick back, and there's not going to be a weekend edition of the RCWR show because of Shine Wrestling. They're going to have an iPay-per-view. So for the first time ever, it's a nice little experiment, too. We'll see how it goes. We're going to air in prime time at, I believe, 9:30. I believe that's when the Shine pay-per-view will go off the air. So just check the tweets.
On Saturday?
On Saturday, yeah. It's unprecedented because normally the Shine pay-per-views, it's on a Friday night, but they're making a rare Saturday appearance. So it's throwing me off here. But you YouTube guys, you'll still get a weekend edition. It'll just be exclusive to YouTube. Blog Talk Radio audience, you won't get it. You'll have to actually check it out on YouTube. But this Saturday only, we'll do a special prime time RCWR show. It'll just cover the fallout from that Shine 8 Wrestling pay-per-view. And you definitely want to order that because Impact Wrestling former knockout champion Angelina Love is going to be making her wrestling debut. So I'm definitely going to be there. And if you order the iPay-per-view before Saturday, you save a little bit of money. So just for the stream alone, you can just get that for $10. If you order it the day of, you're going to have to pay $15. So save yourself a little extra money if you don't have anything to do on Saturday or you like women's wrestling. Check it out. Order it. Check out the post-show. And that's pretty much going to do it. Did you see the Johnny Gill Unsung?
I have not, but it's on demand, and I'm going to be checking that out.
So good, man. You got to watch it twice, and he actually did acknowledge the whole Eddie Murphy thing.
Wow.
Yeah. I was taking a read at his Twitter handle last night or Wednesday night, rather, as Unsung was on. And one of his tweets had read, I hope everybody enjoys this episode of Unsung. It's going to be the first and only time that I ever do something like this again. And you're like, okay, and I don't blame him because he really, very eye-opening. Let me put it to you this way. I found newfound respect for the guy. It's like all those people that thought all those years, including myself, he just opened up a lot of doors in what he had to cover. Yeah, you're going to enjoy that. It was pretty damn good. Guys, the talk of wrestling, it may end for now, but it continues over at our website at infinityOneProductions.com. Be kind, rewind any episodes you might have missed. Go check them out on the downloads, iTunes, Zoom marketplaces. I got an editor's note. I was given this by a friendly user on Twitter the other day. He said, so wait, I thought the Raw event in D.C. was coming up April 1st. He said there's not going to be a YouTube edition next Monday. What's going on? So thank you for that. We'll be back, usual, next week. Everything will be the same, but I will be on, I'm going to try to get on Diamond K's YouTube, Ustream radio show that Monday night.
Yep, you will be.
Of April 1st, yeah. And just in case you guys didn't listen this past Tuesday, I actually have Raw tickets for the D.C. event coming April 1st. It's going to be the final Raw before WrestleMania, and I've actually got a pick. Yeah, big show, and I got damn good seats. I'm like 4 rows ahead of like everybody that's like in the front from like the wall, from like the barricade to the ring, going back. I'm like just right behind those guys. So I got a damn good seat, so I'll be able to take some really good close-up shots. And I'm going to share pictures with you guys all throughout the night. And I had hoped to have the tickets by now, but work's been kicking my butt. I'm going to try to see if maybe I can get the tickets early in the morning because the post office guy, he tried to drop them off, but nobody was here. Duh. so I'm going to try to see if I can maybe pick them up at the post office. But I'm pumped up. I can't wait. I'm going to share pics with everybody, and I'll definitely share the experience with you, Diamond, on the post show there. And
Great.
yeah, that's going to be awesome, man. I can't wait. That's going to do it, guys. I hope you guys have a very safe and fun weekend. Diamond, I know we'll be talking throughout the weekend for sure. And
absolutely. I'm waiting to hear back on a couple things. You'll be excited.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Oh, you know how we do it. That's going to do it. Y'all be safe, be kind to one another. Wish y'all have a safe weekend. We'll see you both respectively this weekend. Everybody, take care.